Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Silent Hill Ascension pre-show. I'm Eduardo, joined here by Layla, and Layla's going to walk us through, well, what we're about to see tonight and pretty much every weekday.
Yeah, as with most Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, here is our run of show. Right now it is 5:40 p.m. Pacific, which means you are here with myself and Eduardo for our pre-show. At 6 o'clock Pacific, you'll see the main show of Silent Hill Ascension, and then as soon as Endure is done, you will come right back to us for a nice post-show hang for the post-show. Eduardo, you got any details for me about what Silent Hill Ascension is?
Yes, of course. If you're here, you probably know it already. Silent Hill Ascension is a socially interactive streaming series where all of you at home collectively shape and experience its ever-evolving story. You're going to collaborate and compete with others to try to make the choices you want to see. Now, when the decision ends, the choice locks in as canon, and that's the version of the show everyone sees. It's a canon story shaped by all of you, the participating audience, every day. And we're going to see that scene that really makes it lock in as both Redemption and Damnation fought. In the end, Redemption had won, and Toby is going to find himself transported from the severing ritual to a strange place with an ominous threat. Our production team's going to throw that on air. If you haven't had a chance to see this yet, or if you just want to rewatch it, well, enjoy it as you can.
How? Shit! Shit! Shit!
Toby, what is...
Rachel, we have to finish this. We have to end the withering.
Toby, I can't.
Yes, you can.
Toby,
Don't stop being a cold-hearted bitch on me now. I made it right. I made it right.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that, again, as best you can, because it's time for us to discuss the moment, you know, the story so far. And today, Layla is specifically wearing black. Well, you saw why.
Now, Eduardo, I know that our prompt is to say that we hope you enjoyed that, but did we?
I mean, that's the thing with like horror, right? Is at some point you gotta lose somebody. But why Toby?
Why? Listen, I think if the members of this audience have been with us long enough, they all know my stance on our good friend Toby. I am in mourning. I do consider myself, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for, Eduardo? Where you form a relationship with someone who doesn't know you.
Oh, yeah.
Parasocially widowed. That's what I am. I'm parasocially widowed. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's totally reasonable. And that's the thing. That was definitely, like, for sure, that was a very key moment where we saw Toby vanish. We're actually going to delve later into some of the systems around that. What Toby's disappearance really means here. But it's not just Toby's disappearance. There are many ways to disappear that aren't just death. We saw yesterday some scenes actually, well, where Astrid started panicking legitimately for a good reason here.
Yeah, you know, when I was little, I used to play this game with my mom where we would like hold hands and swing hands, and then I would just like vanish. And I have very light footfalls, so I'm hard to find. So I have firsthand seen the panic of a parent when they first can't find their kid, whether or not they're mischievous like me or like fully vanished. And Eduardo, we don't yet know why.
No, that's the thing, right? We don't know why Orson's missing. Kind of was there at the funeral and then just was unfindable. All that really could be found, ironically, was Ingrid both alive and dead at the same time. Not the greatest thing to do here. I mean, to be fair, I did like that Astrid got to call her a monster. That was a decision that the audience chose pretty much, not, I don't mean unanimously, but really strongly so.
Yeah, she did not mince words whatsoever at that funeral, and I did like that she then got immediately called out for it. Now with Toby gone, Ingrid is kind of our new there but not there companion, right? Whereas Joy was that before, now we have Ingrid, and I'll tell you, I preferred Joy.
Yeah, and I mean, Joy wasn't exactly the most likable character in this situation, but Ingrid is a piece of work, as they say. But anyways, we're going to, there's a decision going on with Astrid and Ingrid today that's closing in just a bit. You'll see that scene. Layla, our production team's going to throw that up, and you're going to do us, I guess, the pleasure of introducing us to this decision.
Absolutely. So our big question for the day is, what will Astrid do about Ingrid? She can either call for help or follow her into the woods. Now, Eduardo, there is quite a famous musical about following old ladies into the woods, and I don't think that one turned out very well for the characters. So I'll say I'm hesitant about
That's fair.
This.
But one of the things here is this is one of the rare binary decisions we have. Also, often you as the audience get to choose between three options. This time there's only two. It's not a fate decision. It's really a decision how you'd kind of like to see the action continue to go. And that's part of the fun of horror. We clearly know that following a come back to life spirit, so to speak, or body, or whatever Ingrid is here, into the woods, not a smart decision. But it's the same, it's the same thing moving on the plot as we gotta separate, right? It's, you want as an audience to see some moments that kind of make sense as to why something maybe horrible happens. Right now that decision is leading, right? Where Astra's gonna follow Ingrid into the woods, which we all know is probably not the right call, but it's maybe the more entertaining call.
Yeah, the version of the phrase I like to go with is curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. So let's see if we can get some satisfaction from that choice. But while we were preparing for the show, you and I were actually discussing that if I were playing this, if this were a game and not an interactive stream, this is where I would maybe save scum and see what happens. Yeah. And that's kind of the fun of the interactive streaming format, because these decisions get locked in. There is no save scumming for me or anyone else.
Right, that's the thing. That's an important thing. Decisions are time locked, right? Once they happen, they happen. What happened to Toby happened to Toby. That's the story. So that's the key thing is, it's also what, puts the stakes up for you at home is, while there is pride and joy in seeing the different possibilities, it's also, I hope, entertaining for you at home to go, this is what happened. We're gonna live with it.
Yeah, we're all gonna collectively decide it, and we're gonna collectively live with it. So actually we have another graphic. Speaking of Toby's dear departure, we have another graphic to talk about our Fate and Hope system, if production will indulge me. And in terms of Fate and Hope, decisions, endurance scenes, and puzzles all contribute to whether characters will face redemption, suffering, or damnation in Silent Hill Ascension's finale. Their fate is decided across the length of the entire season. A character's hope needs to be high enough for them to survive a crucial story moment. So Eduardo, what exactly does that mean?
Well, so the big thing right here is that essentially we're in this idea of an interactive series, right? It's we go on, we see what happens. There are long-term outcomes to what is going on. Some of your decisions, like the one about Astrid and Ingrid, are in the moment, so to speak, right? You're discovering what's going on. It's there. Now, what we put on screen is actually a fun example of what a redemption, suffering, damnation option might be. I'll delve into that in a bit. But essentially, the idea is there are long-term consequences to your actions. They're not just locked to in the moment. So, if your favorite fruit to eat in public is a durian, you are going to make life miserable for a lot of people around you. And as a result, that might have longer-term consequences. Whereas eating a strawberry probably not so much, and grapefruit, it kind of depends. It is really a suffering to open that in public. So we put that option up as a little fun example, but fundamentally that's the thing is what you do for these characters has consequences long Sure. Now, you as the audience can interact on what they get to do. So, Layla, if you could introduce us to influence points and how they work in the context of our story.
I would love to. So once a decision is made by the audience, it is canon. There is no reset button. As I said earlier, no saves coming, right? These decisions are defined by the influence points you, the audience, use to participate in them to influence the narrative. The more influence points you have, the more sway you have for the decisions you care about. You can earn influence points by taking part in endurance scenes during the live show. We'll explain those in a bit for those not familiar, or by doing puzzles. Alternatively, you can gain them via direct purchase or the season pass.
Right. So that's the thing, right? It's this idea that essentially influence points are how the show lives. It's essentially how it's doing. So we show you that example decision. What we're going to do from the influence points is essentially go and explain that one of the things we notice with you at the audience at home is we believe that you've understood how the fate system works, which is you're making your decision at home in your at comfort, you're choosing what's up, you understand the stakes, we hope. Now, hope, we believe, has been a little bit more dicey, and we wanted to make clear on what's gone on. One of the key parts is you can't find Toby's hope because Toby is dead. And usually characters that are dead don't have hope. Now, that's the thing. As Layla, of course, I'm sorry for that. Of course, Layla.
I know it hurts every time you say it, Eduardo, is the problem.
Yes. So again, Toby's death. So big thing here. We essentially go and have to go like, okay, this character is all guard here, and part of that was not because you as the audience at home chose the redemption path, right? That doesn't necessarily mean survival, right? The hope was low. That can also have a large influence. So as we go on, make sure to keep an eye on hope. We're actually going to, throughout this show, afterwards as well as if you come back on Friday, we'll also do a little bit more of that. We'll try to explore again those avenues to kind of how to develop hope, how to make it a little bit stronger. One of the big things as well is when we're off the air from the live part, you can essentially do mindfulness puzzles, and that has a huge impact on hope.
Absolutely. I definitely like to think of it like my favorite coping mechanism, which is when I get a little bit stressed out, I just play Sudoku like the old man I was always born to be. So it's kind of, I definitely understand the appeal of doing a line match or any of our other puzzles that our team put together to get that hope up. Because when I play Sudoku and I make all those numbers go in a row, I definitely feel more hopeful.
No, for sure. And that's one of the big things. It's essentially, it's this idea of, you have to, there are many ways to help the characters as you wish. So, and the endurance scenes that are coming up, we'll again explain those are also a key part of that. So that's the thing, right? Remember, it's not just about the decisions. It's about also trying to keep again, it's a horror series. You might want characters to die. So if you want them to die, it's all good. You're in the right track. For that side of things. So don't worry, if you want them to die, they're hoping low, good for you. It's, aside from, that's the important thing to remember is for the characters you like, you want the hope to be high, you want the fate to be redeeming or suffering if you want them to suffer throughout their life. And if you don't like them, maybe down the damnation path, see what's up. Remember, horror show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a long con to get to someone's death, using the hope system and pointedly ignoring being able to raise it, which I love. I love a long con, famously. I think we gotta check out our current decision, which Follow Her Into the Woods is still winning, Eduardo, and I think it's time for you to help us head towards the end of our show.
Yeah, of course. So again, our decision's closing soon. You got a couple of minutes still. You'll see the results live. Our show is going to start in about 5 minutes. So one of the things, right, is as usual, there's an endurance scene. Our production team's going to throw that on screen. Layla's going to describe essentially what you get to experience. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's up here.
Oh, absolutely. So, one of our main story characters enters a room only to find one of you, an audience member, dead, being eaten by a snarler. The snarler is a dog-like monster that feeds on human flesh and is definitely not a boy you want to pet. And I do need to call out boy is spelled B-O-I in our copy. The character gets attacked by another Starler and will have to kick it off and escape, avoiding obstacles thanks to inputs from you, the audience. And Eduardo, I think you have some more details for us on that.
Of course. I mean, a good boy is spelled B-O-I. It's very important. Absolutely vital and crucial information for you at home to no I mean clearly we're talking here about what you're trying to do, apart from maybe not pet the dog with the extremely long tongue in this exact context in the teeth. So the thing is, again, if a character fails enough of these endurance scenes, they may not survive future encounters. It's potentially going to lead to their permanent death in the story. We've had a lot of feedback, by the way, on the endurance scenes because we wanted to get the look and feel right, and a lot of you have written into us about them. We're going to actually talk about that in development updates in the post show if you want to hear more about that. In the meantime, though, the endurance scenes are, for sure, one of the best places to earn large amounts of influence points. They're one of the biggest highlights of you tuning in live from the perspective of interacting with the story. But don't worry if you succeed. Don't worry if you fail. They just influence the story fundamentally. They're not an individual judgment on you. They're part of how we shape Silent Hill Ascension.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, as somebody who's who likes a little bit of challenge usually when she games, when I started getting those inputs, I'll tell you, there was a sense of accomplishment for me learning, especially the tap used to get me a lot, and now I can tap.
Yeah, it's great. Personally, I just like to see characters go through horrible situations. So, I'm much more on the different side. I'm much more passive about my horror experience. But again, it's part of the thing about the endurance scenes is, like, you do want to help, right? Like, you don't really want the character to be eaten by monsters alone in a dark room. You want to be eaten by monsters alive along with their friends and family. That's much more interesting to me. So it's very important to get the characters to survive until we can kill them off properly. That's how I feel about this.
Eduardo, I'm picking up a very surprising sadistic streak with you that is making me concerned as your coworker, but hey, we can talk about that while the stream runs. For now, why don't you take us out?
Sure, absolutely, my delight. So one of the things, right, we saw Toby die. That was a really key scene and a really important point in our story. What you've kind of seen in the scenes, however, that played yesterday, Orson vanished, the fog rolled in. Rachel's also looking for Faith. Now, while that's kind of starting, she's asking Eric, we're not quite sure, but there was a monster there. That's not a good sign. So again, we've had kind of our peak. We've had the death of one of our characters that we know, like a lot of you in the audience really like, Toby. But as a result, we're kind of again setting up. We know that things are building up, and we want to go to the next part of it. We had Ingrid's funeral. Obviously, Toby probably needs some kind of memorial. You saw that the scene that's coming up, last rites. So again, you're going to enjoy that, we hope. Reminder, after that, we will be back for the post show. It'll be both myself and Layla. So for now, what we're going to say, the show starts in about a minute. Last chance to grab a glass of water. We're going to sign off, and we hope you have a delightful time.